Run, river, run, run through the hills. Run, river, run to the sea. Run, river, run to your place beneath the sun. Run, river, run over me.
Hi, this is Jan Lewis. Welcome to be my guest today. We have from Marlborough, back again, Robert J. Ainsworth. And Robert is an author, and he's written quite a few books. It's a series. It's the Harry Bartlett series. And he's been on before. His latest book is called, well, actually, it's the newest book.
That's the first one.
This was the first one.
That's the first one.
This is one I got in the mail. This is the first one. Okay. This one was...
That's the same. That's the paperback version.
That's the paperback version. Okay,
Yeah.
Let's put this right here so that I will not get... Now, you were also... Now, you wrote Scammed. When was this?
So I put that out soon after Conned because I had written them at about the same time, and it just needed editing. So I put that story out as the follow-up to Conned. And in that one, my character, Harry Bartlett, is a full-time private investigator, and he has a case. And it's based on those look-alike women who run fraud and scams on people.
And some of you may remember he was here on Duped about the that museum stealing.
Right.
That was really something.
So it was a fun book to write. A friend of mine asked me to write it because he liked one of my characters, Uncle Louie. And so I looked for the biggest crime in Boston, which was the Gardner theft, and I wrote the book. And since then, I've done 50 or so presentations on the actual theft at libraries and senior centers.
Now this is
That's the newest one.
This is the newest one. This is Ponzied, and it's Harry Bartlett. It's part of the novel. Now, what does he remind you of?
So that picture is interesting. If you look at it in color, that's Charles Ponzi, obviously. So if you look at that picture in color, he looks like a really nice guy. But if you put him in black and white, he looks sort of sinister.
No, you know who
which was what I was going for.
No, he looks like the guy that just ended up in the clink. That guy, the Ponzi.
Bernie Madoff?
He reminded... No, wait a minute. Who's that guy who ended up in...
The crypto guy?
The island, what was the island prison?
The island prison.
I'll think of it, but anyway.
Okay.
I remember that. So now, this was the first one. Which one did you want to talk about, your first one? The way everything begins.
You can do it in whatever order you like.
Let's start it off. You tell us how everything began.
So it all began because I was looking for something to do in retirement, and I always liked mysteries and history. And I liked Perry Mason, the old Earl Stanley Gardner stories, and Sherlock Holmes, and modern ones. And so I gave it a shot and thought, could I write a book? And I started writing on a train, and after about a month I had 150 double-spaced pages, and from that I just kept going. So that one is set on Nantucket, because I set it at the house of a friend of ours, a gigantic house, 10,000 square foot house. And most of the action takes place on the island.
And he finds his friend Ian's body.
Right, so it starts off with his friend is Ian Bradford, and he finds Ian dead in a snapping turtle pond on the west end of Nantucket. And there actually is a snapping turtle pond there.
And he didn't realize it, but his friend Ian was mixed up with some real bad guys.
Right. And so Ian was a wine importer, but he was selling fake wine as expensive wine, and that was what got him killed. And then Harry comes across other scams that are going on at the time.
And his wife was left with only $20 in her wallet.
Right. That's how Harry gets dragged in, because he's a financial guy, and he goes to help Ian's wife, and she said, he controlled the money. All I have is $20 in my wallet. I don't know where the rest of the money is. You have to help me. And so he becomes, by default, a fraud investigator.
Are you doing your own covers? I forgot.
I do. I love my own covers.
You know, this is terrific on this. I wish that had... Where's your picture? You don't... Well, on one of them,
it's on one of them.
But it's a debut author. This was your first book, that's why.
That was the first one.
Robert Ainsworth has created an intricate, fast-paced story. that keeps your attention to the unexpected end. I love the top. What do you do when your best friend is on the line? The business end of your fishing line. Finding his murdered best friend's body drags a soon-to-be retiring financial executive into the ruthless world of con artists and scammers that prowl idyllic Nantucket Island.
Pretty good description.
For unsuspecting marks. Yeah, I've always been very good at reading. My mother was this way. She would become, when I was a little girl, she would did you grow up with the, I can't think of the author, but the little creatures were like the frog, Mr. Frog, and all these other little. Anyway, he was a New England author, I think, and she would become every creature.
Really?
I'd lay there in bed. She knew how to get me to go to sleep. She'd lay there and she'd read, and she'd be Grandfather Frog. And both of my parents. Dad was in broadcasting. Mom wanted to be on stage, but she got married. She had us. But this was the first one.
That's the first one. That introduces Harry.
This introduces Harry.
Yeah.
Does Harry kind of make you think of yourself?
Well, yeah, only because I'm a financial guy.
Yeah.
But that's sort of the only connection.
The only one.
The only one. He's based on a guy I worked for, a guy named Patrick McGovern. And McGovern started a company called IDG that put out computer magazines and the dummies books. Genius of a man, built $1 billion empire from nothing, and left MIT $250 million for brain research.
You're kidding.
No. Fantastic man. Smartest guy I've ever met. And so he's really Harry Bartlett. He wasn't a financial guy, that's my part. But everything else, so I have Pat McGovern's picture in front of me when I write.
One of these books has an excellent picture of you. Yeah, it's this one. We'll talk about it. It's the new one. Okay. All right. I'm getting it. I thought I forgot all about the first. Scammed is the next one.
Scammed is the next one. So the first one introduces Harry, and he by default becomes a fraud investigator. That one, he is actually running a fraud agency called the Fraud Detective Group. It's set in the building opposite Fenway Park. You know where Twins souvenir stand is? So that's right across Jersey Street. And so they have taken over the second floor of that building, and he's looking for cases. And one sort of drops in his lap. A guy thinks somebody is stealing from his company, embezzling, and so Harry gets hired to search that out, which leads him to other people who are running scams, the women on the cover there.
Yeah.
So those are look-alike, almost Stepford Wives-like women.
Oh, yes.
Right? And so they're running scams, and Harry chases that one down. And it ultimately leads him to a life-or-death struggle with his nemesis, a guy named Yitzhak Trebor.
Yeah. A seemingly simple embezzlement case ends up forcing Harry to making life and death decisions as he follows a trail of intricate financial crimes and murder. Uncovering the Nantucket scams had been a great success. Yitzhak Trebor, that was not his friend, his enemy, had been flushed out as the mastermind. Stolen money had been recovered, and Harry Bartlett and Steve Malarkey had founded the Fraud Detective Group. Mm-hmm. Excellent name. But there was unfinished business and a shrinking window to complete it in. Yitzhak was still at large, and Harry only has 5 more days to find him before the deadline that he's made with Steve to focus on growing the FDG kicks in.
Right, the business was failing. He'd never run his own business. He's trying to run a detective agency. They don't have any cases, and one drops in his lap, and that's what saves him. So the end of that. Do you know the end of Sherlock Holmes?
Yes.
Over the Falls?
Yes.
So, sort of the end of that story is Harry and Yitzhak going over Newton Lower Falls together.
Yeah. Pretty good.
And then we'll see what happens. So, I love to set everything in New England, especially around Boston. It's all places I've been.
Do you have a place in Nantucket?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Friends of ours do.
I know we had a family home in Dennisport. As a matter of fact, speaking about the Cape, they got a whole lot of flyers going over them right now.
The drones?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. One landed on an airport.
It landed on Otis Air Force Base?
Yeah.
It actually landed? Why didn't they net it? What are they waiting for?
I don't know. They'll have to find them. And there are a lot in New Jersey, too.
Yeah, and they're in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Cape Cod.
Mm-hmm.
I'm tempted to go out at night here in this area. I don't know. It's, for some reason or other, it's being kept very secret, which disturbs Americans more than if we're told the truth, I think. Tell us the truth.
Well, they keep saying they're not a threat. They're just flying around.
Oh,
Who's doing it? No idea.
That's unbelievable.
I keep my nose in sports in my books. So.
Sports, me too. Aren't the Red Sox doing great this year?
Well, they signed a couple of guys, so we'll see.
And then the Patriots, oh my God.
They'll be better next year.
Who's that really good guy in the Patriots?
Drake May, the quarterback?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's very good.
Yeah, good guy.
He's very good.
All right, so this was the one Bob was with us on Duped. This was tell them about this again.
So Duped is because a friend of mine liked my Uncle Louie character. And Uncle Louie is a full-on mafia hitman type guy. And I was looking for a big story, sort of like the Da Vinci Code, with Mary Magdalene and all that. And what's the biggest unsolved crime in Boston? The Isabella Stewart theft. Yeah. So I created a story with Uncle Louie, and Harry is in the background, of him working to solve the theft.
Harry Bartlett and Uncle Louie. Do you have an Uncle Louie?
No, Uncle Louie's a real guy, though.
He is. You know him.
He was the uncle of one of my wife's high school girlfriends.
Okay.
Full-on, legit mafia hitman. Scariest dude I have ever been in the presence of.
So you got real close.
Oh yeah, no, I've met him. At the time, just very quiet, intimidating guy.
Harry Bartlett and Uncle Louie become immersed in the unsolved mystery of 13 stolen pieces of art, tracking down the thieves and paintings, bringing them face to face with Boston's organized crime gangs and into the sketchy world of high-value art. And this, what was the name again of the museum?
The Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum.
Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum. They solved it, didn't they? Did they never got the pieces, all of them back?
So only one of them was ever seen. Yeah. One of the thieves tried to pawn it a few months after the theft, and the guy didn't take it, and the piece disappeared. So all 13 have never been seen at all.
And I don't think we're ever going to.
Hard to say. As much as the FBI will say they think the stuff was stolen, went to Revere, went to Maine, went to Connecticut, and then Philadelphia, and then vanished. And they have no idea after that.
Well, if anything, it probably would go overseas.
Yeah, but there's rich people in the United States. I mean, it doesn't have to be a Russian oligarch or a Saudi prince or a Colombian drug lord.
But they gotta hide it.
Yeah, but anybody rich could put it in their basement. Or maybe it's in Revere in a wall, and someday there'll be a This Old House episode, and they'll take a wall down, and all the stuff will come tumbling out.
It is. I love mystery.
Oh, it's a great story.
Do you think in your heart of hearts that they will come and find them someday?
Yeah, someday it'll tumble out. And it's a great topic. So when I give my talks, I average 30 to 40 people, but I've had 100 people show up.
Is Uncle Louie still with us?
The real Uncle Louie?
Yeah. Is he
no, he passed long ago.
How old was he when he went?
When I met him, he was probably 70. And this was back in the 70s.
Oh.
So yeah, so he's long gone.
Now, this is the new one.
Right.
And it says Ponzied. Look at the character. Who is this guy? He was in that. What was the prison on the island off New York?
The island off New York? Or you mean San Francisco?
San Francisco.
Alcatraz?
Alcatraz. He had a round face.
Al Capone?
Al Capone. This guy reminds me of Al Capone.
Well, he was earlier. So Ponzi was 1920, and Capone was sort of in the late 20s and 30s, I think. So he's a little bit earlier than Al Capone.
Yeah, I've never seen this book, but when I saw it, I loved it. That black and white cover says it all.
That's why I did it. He looks sinister. And you have to understand, he was a financial psychopath.
Yeah.
So here's what he said after he was done. He said it was the best entertainment ever for the people in New England, and so what if it cost them $15 million? It was worth every penny for me to pull it off.
He said it.
That's what he said about himself. Yeah.
Now, I haven't read this. This is new. Does he, well, I don't want you to give it away.
No, that's fine.
Does he pay for this? I mean,
Yes.
Okay, he gets in the can. Well, let me read the back of this. Boston, 1920. My father was born then. Charles Ponzi is fooling the public with his stamp scheme and raking in millions. Stamps? You mean mailing stamps?
Well, finish the back and then I'll tell you.
Harry Bartlett knows what no one else knows. That Charles is a financial psychopath. All right, now, but how can he bring down the most famous man in America? Robert Ainsworth, Jr., our guest today, is the author of the Harry Bartlett fraud mystery novels. We know that. Conned, duped, and scammed, and now Ponzi'd. Having happily put his accounting world behind him, our guest Bob, he works diligently on his future stories, played, fleeced, and unindicted, near Boston, Massachusetts. Okay, give us an idea of this thing. What's going on?
So, just like the story on TV Yellowstone,
Yep.
they have the prequel 1923, and then they have another prequel before that. So I wanted a prequel to describe where Harry Bartlett came from, because his backstory is his parents passed away when he was 5, and he was put in an orphanage, and Uncle Louis was his guardian. So I wanted to explain why Harry's parents died and why he was orphaned. So to do that, I had to go back to Charles Ponzi, because that is the origin story. Harry's family lost all their money to Charles Ponzi, and Harry's father wants to get him to pay for it.
Yeah.
And he wants Ponzi to be arrested. So the story is basically Harry's father trying to figure out how to Ponzi Charles Ponzi. So that's why it's a verb, Ponzi'd. He wants to pull a Ponzi on Ponzi.
Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
You don't have to answer it to tell the story. Does his father end up in trouble?
No, his father actually does what he wanted to do.
Got him.
And pays back all the people that his father had scammed, but lives a life of penniless drudgery work.
Even though he caught this guy, he should have been rewarded.
Nope.
Now, you designed the covers on all your books.
I love my covers.
This couldn't be better for like a mafia type of cover. This is.
It stands out.
Yeah. Now, you got to be working on a new one. What's the new one?
So the new one is one called The Last Unindicted Mayor.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. It's right here.
Right. So that's one of 3 covers that I created. So a friend of mine's father was a mayor of a local town, and he was honest. The mayors after him were all indicted. And so this golf buddy and I, we were talking a couple of months ago, and he came out and said, my father was the last unindicted mayor. And my head just went, poof. It's the greatest title for a book, because why is he unindicted? Was he not caught?
Yeah.
Was he honest? You don't know.
Was this in the Boston area?
Yes. And so I went home that night, and I stayed up all night, and I wrote a 2 or 3 page synopsis of the story, what I thought it would be.
Yeah.
And I created 3 covers. That's one of them.
Which are you going to use this for?
I don't know which one I'm going to use. I have 3. Okay. And I show it to people. I only had time to print one.
Yeah.
But I ask people which they'd like. And so I've gone through 5 different storylines.
Yeah.
And Didn't like the first 4, but the 5th one I like. So now I'm about 200 pages into that story. And it's coming along pretty well.
Is that cover for that story?
That is one of the possible covers. But it's just the greatest title, The Last Unindicted Mayor.
You were in finances.
I was a CPA, went to Boston College for accounting.
When you graduated high school, did you know exactly what you were going to do? When you went to college?
Pretty much.
Where'd you go?
Boston College.
And majored in?
Accounting.
Accounting.
And then Northeastern for a master's degree in finance. So when I was older, my mother showed me something I kept when I was 12 and 13, and I kept a little ledger of all the money I made, delivering newspapers or working at a gas station or caddying. And so just my brain goes to recording things. It just does. It's not like it's hard for me.
No.
And so it's just where my brain went.
Okay.
So to answer your question,
yeah.
I think I sort of always knew.
You've always been. So, you're too young to retire. Come on.
Oh, I'm done.
What?
I'm 71. I retired in 2017.
But see, I'm seeing an awful lot about this. Our baby boomer generation is huge. It starts in the 1946, but we end up in 64. So we're huge, but we're the older ones, the middle ones, and the young ones.
So I'm sort of in the middle. I was born in 53.
Yeah. You're what?
I was born in 53.
Yeah. We're
right.
Very similar. Before he came, I was going through this, and I love what he has. He has written down his own experience, his education, his personal friends, and your hobbies. This is right up. Oh, okay. Fundraising. When I read about it, you like to fundraise for the Boston Orphanage.
I do.
How did you get into that?
I fundraised for the Boston Orphanage? I wrote that?
You did. It's right here.
I don't think it's true.
It's
all fiction.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
It is not.
No.
How did you do that?
Fundraise for the Boston Orphanage?
Yeah.
Really? I wrote that? I don't know. I'll have to go back and look. So I wrote that book back in 2020.
Gambling and investing?
No, well, I invest a little bit. I don't gamble.
Writing limericks?
Harry does that. Oh, this is all that Harry does. That's not what I do.
Okay. I thought it was you.
No. No, Harry does that.
Shooting cannons?
Yeah, Harry does that. That's all Harry.
But I see you in this experienced chief financial officer.
Well, yeah. So it's sort of like, who was it? The woman who writes Kay Scarpetta, that famous writer, female writer. She worked in a coroner's office, and she was a reporter.
Yeah.
And so she writes about that. And I remember there was an author named Cook who was a doctor and wrote Coma. So he wrote what he knew.
Mm-hmm. I read that one.
Right. There's stories from a stewardess who writes mysteries about things that happen on an airplane.
And plane crashes.
And plane crashes.
I've read that. What's her name?
I don't know. So I write what I know, which is financial stuff.
And there's a guy who writes...
You write what you know.
He writes plane crashes, and I won't get on a plane, okay? But for some reason or other, I'm fascinated by what's going on the plane. We're going to have to close now. We're going to get him back, don't worry. When will this next book be ready?
Probably by the summer.
By the summer, you'll let me know.
By the summer, it takes about a year.
Okay.
I'm writing the main story right now.
Okay.
I have my covers. I have some people who do editing for me. It'll probably be out by the summer.
Okay, well, let us know.
I will. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate this.
And this is the new one coming out this summer, The Last Unindicted Mayor. Oh, boy.
It's a great title. Imagine that as a movie title.
Oh,
that
yeah.
would be great.
That would be awesome. Definitely. Now, how can they get a hold of you if they want you to come speak, they want to talk with you about your book?
So my email is b_ainsworthjr@hotmail.com. My website is www.ainsworthjr.com. If you want to contact me to give a talk about either the Isabella Stewart Gardner theft or about fraud characters such as Charles Ponzi, Bernie Madoff, Elizabeth Turner, the woman who did the Blood Con. You can contact me at any of those, and I'll be glad to come and speak.
One more time, because we didn't say it before. How can they reach you?
So B_Ainsworth JR at hotmail.com or www.rainsworthjr.com is my website.
How far are you willing to travel?
I've gone to the Cape,
Okay.
so I'll go to the Cape, but generally it's within 20, 30 miles
Have
of
you been to
Marlborough.
Tatnock?
I have been to Tatnock. They have
you
my
been,
books.
Webster, have you been to the Book Lovers Gourmet?
I have not. I didn't know about that.
You would love it.
I've been to Upton here.
Yep. You would love it.
I've been, up to Gardner, down to Needham, out to Lexington, and out down to Upton. And then I've been on the Cape for some friends.
There's places all over the lot that they would love to hear from you.
Okay.
Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
See
This
you
is
next
great.
time and be my guest.
Yep.
Riding on a shooting star, heading out toward a dream. Tomorrow's even closer than it seems.